Hey, this is Ashley. You're watching Healing Sinvergüenza. New episodes every 2 weeks.
Hi, I'm Fabiola.
Hi, Ashley.
Diana.
This is Healing Sinvergüenza.
Today we have a special guest, a successful business owner and entrepreneur. His name is Richard Peralta. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. We're so excited.
Thank you guys for having me.
Our first guest.
Woo!
Yeah.
Also, his business name is RP and Associates. How are you, Richard?
I'm good. Very happy to be here.
Yay.
With you
We're
guys.
We're
excited
very
to have
happy to
you.
have
Yeah, we're
Hello.
so excited. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
I grew up in a medium-sized Mexican family. I guess you could say there was 6 of us in a studio with 2 parents that were kind of open about doing drugs. So I was kind of exposed to that as a child. And then, typical, back then I guess it was typical domestic type violence type stuff. So a lot
In
of
the
that.
home?
In the home, yeah,
Yeah.
between the parents.
Okay.
And where did you grow up? Los Angeles?
I was born in San Bernardino and grew up all over San Fernando and Palmdale.
Got it.
How many siblings do you have?
2 brothers and 3 sisters.
Are you the oldest or?
No,
Youngest.
second.
Okay.
I feel like I'm the oldest though.
Kind of took on that role.
Yeah, I had to.
Is there anything that you remember from your childhood that, has played a role of who you are now? Like, has pushed you forward, has, made you be successful?
Growing up with very little money, in times there would be no power, no gas, very little food in the house. Those feelings definitely keep me moving forward and trying to make more money
Yeah.
for sure.
That's what motivates you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remembering that.
So, what do you think little Richard felt in that, growing up in that environment? With drugs, with abuse, no light, sometimes no gas. Like, what do you think little Richard was feeling?
Very determined, because I would go to school in slightly better neighborhoods than where I was living.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, so I would see that what I was experiencing wasn't normal. Wasn't like for everybody. Maybe my neighbors or people that I lived in the same apartment building, but I would go to school and talk to my friends there and knew early on that it wasn't normal. It wasn't typical, and it wasn't for everybody, or everyone wasn't experiencing that.
Right.
So I knew that early on I had to do something to not go through that anymore.
Was that like high school years, or when did you realize?
That was like going into junior high.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. My older brother's 4 years older than me, so a lot of our childhood, he had to take me everywhere. So most of my friends are at least 4 years older than me.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So I had a lot of experiences
Sooner.
earlier. Yeah, really early
Yeah.
on.
Richard, talk about a typical day in your life growing up.
Well, when I was young in elementary school, I had to spend a lot of time caring for my younger siblings. So we'd all get up and try to get everyone fed. My 2 little sisters at the time, I only had 2 at the time, and get them fed, get kind of everyone in the van, get to school. Like I said, I kind of assumed the older brother role very early on. Not that my brother was a bad older brother. I just kind of had to reel him in a little bit and like stay on track and come on, like we're gonna be late and get everyone to school, and then we come home. Not that I had to, but I kind of had to make sure that everyone ate.
You just sort of like innately felt the need to be the.
Well, I had a lot of pressure from my mom earlier on, like to kind of make sure that my siblings were taken care of.
And I think that's very
Got it.
typical in a lot of Latino
Yeah.
communities. I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to that, taking on
Yeah.
kind of like the parent role
Yeah.
when it comes to sometimes older siblings, but more common.
Yeah.
But
the
what's
younger
interesting is that
siblings.
he wasn't the oldest one.
Yeah.
And that you being the second born, you took on that role. Why? But why though? Why wasn't your older brother?
my mom kind of pushed it on me.
More on you.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
She maybe saw something in you, like a little more responsibility, a little more like
Yeah. Well, then
maturity.
my dad always called me a worrier. I guess I used to just stress out about stuff when I was little and always
Oh.
like had those things. Well, what about Carol or what about Desiree? You know, what about Grandma? Like I guess I asked those questions, so I was always kind of had my mind on those things, and
Yeah.
they kind of just let me assume that role. And then my mom would pressure me though, like go make sure your sister. You know, I'd bathe my sisters, brush their hair, dry their hair, make sure they had something to eat after, and then like put them, make sure they go to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Aw.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because usually when we get parentified at a young age, right, we assume the parental role, right, at a young age. It actually morphs into people pleasing as we get older.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you carry some of those traits now
I-
as an adult?
Absolutely. 100%.
People pleasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to work on that.
Yeah.
And how does that look like now that your siblings are older, you're older? Do you kind of see that those childhood times, or how you would do so much for them, like coming out, like that protective side, or wanting to care for them, take care of them?
Help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Save
and they
them.
definitely lean on me 100% for that now, I feel.
Yeah,
Like a
because they
lot.
built like that connection, that
Yeah.
bond. They probably, I'm sure, feel like safe with you and
Yeah.
trust you. So
Yeah.
that makes a
They
lot
don't
of sense.
they don't use those words, but I get that feeling from them. Yeah,
You get that
100%.
feeling, huh?
100%, yeah.
Like, what are you doing here again?
Yeah.
Oh, you want
Yeah,
want
exactly.
something.
Yeah, what do you need now?
something.
For sure.
Yeah, they'll say it in a different way, or just
Yeah.
want to be around and not
Yeah.
really say much.
How were your teenage years?
Those were fun. After the 94 earthquake, I think, I went to live with my father for a little bit, and my brother. Like I said, we were exposed to a lot of drug use, and not just in the immediate family, but like cousins, uncles, like everybody was either snorting or smoking or drinking something.
And
you know?
out like for everyone to see. For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I think I remember my first day of 6th grade, my brother rolled up probably like 10 joints because he had just, we were 4 years apart, right? So I started junior high and he was going into high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, here, take these, 2 for $5 or 3 for $5, $2 each or 3 for $5. And so that kind of launched my little career,
Yeah.
you could say.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Mhm.
An introduction into drug
Introduced you,
sales.
Yeah.
And that kicked off a whirlwind of bad choices
Afterwards.
after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how were your parents? Like, where were your parents at? Like, emotionally or just in life? Were they still using? Was your dad using?
My dad was using probably since he was 14 years old.
And
Yeah.
you said when you were born, your parents were together still.
Yeah, they were.
So around what age did they separate or divorce?
I would say 5 years old.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So
okay.
you're still.
Oh, so that's why you
Pretty
said
young.
your mom gave you that role,
Yeah.
that parental type
Yeah.
role. Okay.
So you said earlier that you were Mexican American.
Yeah.
What generation are you?
I think 8th or 9th.
No
Wow.
way.
Yeah. My grandfather or great grandfather, great, my dad's side was living in Sonora, Mexico in I think 1894, when California was still Mexico,
Okay.
and he came up on I think it's the Inez expedition.
Uh-huh.
They sent their soldiers into the Northern Territory. They went up to San Francisco, and then he had kids, I guess, and had 2 of his sons. One came down to Yorba Linda, with what's now Yorba Linda,
Mhm.
but back then was the Yorba farm, the Yorba family farm,
Wow.
and worked with them. And so we've just kind of been in and around Southern California since then.
That's a lot of
I love that he
history.
has that history passed down from,
Yeah,
generations. That's awesome.
yeah, because most of us don't know nothing
Yeah,
about it, like
no.
where we came from.
And how was that growing up for you? Because I know, like, I'm first generation, but I have had some experiences where I think mainly when I went to undergrad, because LA is very diverse. I went to school in New York, but more upstate. Well, it's upstate. And people would say, like, you're not Mexican enough, or you're not American enough, being first gen. So for you being like ninth
100%.
generation, how was
100%.
that?
It was 100% that. I wasn't Mexican enough to be Mexican, and I still wasn't white.
Mhm.
So
You weren't American
Yeah.
enough to be, or
Yeah.
whatever.
exactly. So,
Wow.
and then the fact that my parents both spoke Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
but never taught us Spanish, just kind of solidified that we weren't Mexican enough because we didn't speak the language.
Right, right, right.
So at around 12 years old, you started selling drugs.
Yeah.
Did you ever like get caught or by a teacher by
No, not by a teacher. I think after that, the bad decisions kind of increased, and so it started. It was at school with joints, and then on the street corner with cocaine or rock cocaine, and then that's when I started to really not go to school at all, and then get arrested quite frequently, and I ended up getting my stomach pumped once or twice because you kind of have to swallow the drugs that are in your
To not
mouth,
get
so you
caught.
don't, yeah, it's not get caught.
oh
So that happened, and then at, like right about 14, I ended up getting arrested and taken away from my mother.
wow. How long were you in jail at 14?
I
Or
think,
juvie.
Juvie.
yeah, I think it was only maybe like 3 months or something, but the judge was really adamant about, the absentee parent and, what I was doing and what I got caught with. And, he's the one that ordered me taken away from my mother and to be placed with my grandparents for 3 years.
Oh wow.
What was your mom and dad still using at this time?
Yes. Yeah.
And were they ever like, would they ever call you and be like, Richard, give you advice or try to steer you a different way during this time, or were they too lost?
My mom, at the time, like I said, my decision making was really bad. I was upset with her at something she had done, so I was just trying to do everything against what she wanted or what she suggested. Anything. If it was, be home at 9, I was coming home at 1.
So
If
you're
it was just,
rebelling.
I don't care, whatever time come home, I wouldn't come home.
Yeah.
I was doing anything and everything to go against the grain and be angry at her and hurt her how she hurt me, or try to at least.
Yeah.
And it manifested into me making so many bad decisions. She would actually call my friends and plead with them to go and get me and bring me home, like, just so I was home. And she
Yeah.
didn't care what I did when I was home as long as
You were
I
there.
was there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I got arrested, she kind of threw it in my face, like, I told you so, this was going to happen. And, because at that time, that was my first time being arrested, I was terrified.
Yeah, and so young.
Yeah. But then they placed me with my grandparents, and I kind of was forced to temporarily turn my life around and start going to school all the time and getting good grades. My first time in therapy.
Oh, wow. Did you feel a sense of relief that you didn't have so much to worry about?
No.
Okay.
I was more upset that I was taken away from that life.
Oh, you were.
I was a kid. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that now, but at that age, I was just really upset the fact that I got taken away. My life completely changed. I couldn't be with my friends. I was ordered I couldn't hang around with my brother.
Oh.
I had to have like special monitored visits with my own brother, and I couldn't go home with my mom and my brothers and sisters. Like when they
Right.
would come visit me, they would just get to come for a couple hours on the weekends, and then they would leave me there.
Oh.
That's how it kind of felt.
Did you feel alone?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So even though you had your grandparents there, did you feel alone in the sense of like no support really from like your mom, your dad, your siblings, like so they could understand where you're at emotionally?
Actually, I felt like I had a lot of support from them, because they did all come as a group to come spend the weekend with me, even though I know that wasn't always their favorite place to come, to grandma and grandpa's house. Some of them, really enjoyed it, but they would all come as a group and hang out with me and
That's
eat
nice.
and spend time with me. Even my older brother, like they all would come and do that for me. It really sucked that like at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock when everyone got to leave and go home, and
Yeah.
I was still there.
Oh, man. How are your grandparents? What were they like?
Very strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely strict. But they saved me more than once.
Really?
They were already retired and didn't have to agree to, take me in and
Yeah.
deal with this, difficult.
Delinquent.
Yeah, like, and so they did. They took me in. They treated me extremely well. My grandmother would 3 meals a day for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
My grandfather, I got my first job at Magic Mountain. He would drive up there and drop me off and pick me up. You know, as long as I was doing the right thing, they were extremely, extremely supportive.
Supportive.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
nice.
So it seems like they gave you the stability and the
Mhm.
consistency that you were needing.
And
Absolutely.
I bet at the time you were just like, oh, I hate this. I
Yeah.
want to go back to
I
the
wanna
life
be
I was living.
wild.
But now that you're
Yeah.
older, you look
Yeah.
back
Yeah, and I really
and
appreciate
you're
it.
like, those were very special moments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How long did you stay with them?
I
3
was there
years?
for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially the cooked meals 3 times a day.
She was
Yeah.
eating good.
What kind of food? What kind of
Yo,
food was that?
What was her
kinds of
best
food,
dish?
all
Yeah.
kinds of food. She used to make me this. She would make a whole big casserole dish because they would eat dinner at 4 o'clock. You know, they were older.
My parents eat dinner around that time.
Yeah.
too.
So she would make like dinner for us, and I would eat with them, and then she would like pack a little bit more and leave it on the counter because she knows I would eat at 8 o'clock again. But she would. I love this. She made like a pasta salad with broccoli and chicken, vegetables, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, chicken with noodles, and just like drenched in ranch sauce.
Oh my god.
That sounds bomb.
Yeah.
Good, we're hungry. So
I
that sounds good.
No, it was really, really good.
So the food was very Americanized. It wasn't traditional Mexican American.
Not every day, no.
Mexican food.
Not every day, no.
Frijoles.
Not every
No.
day.
No.
Okay.
I mean, he's
Did they
like
speak
8th,
Spanish?
9th generation.
Huh?
They spoke Spanish?
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay.
My grandma, and it's funny because my grandmother was born in that house that we lived in
Oh,
at the time.
really?
Yeah.
Wait, where was this?
This was in San Fernando.
San Fernando.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So this is
San
when you moved to the
Fernando.
valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
one
you
the
kind of
times.
were all over
Yeah. I
LA,
was in
California.
Palmdale, Lake LA,
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino, Ontario,
Mhm.
Rancho.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
What sort of like life lessons did your grandpa teach you?
Or
Or
your
advice?
He would, he taught me how to how important it is to keep your word. You know,
as a man.
especially when you say something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what the meaning. I don't remember him explaining it to me as much as him showing me what my definition of integrity is, which you know, it's not so much what you do when everyone's looking at you, but what you do when no one is.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
that
big.
Yeah,
will-
because we learn through
awesome.
modeling.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
was modeled to us is what we internalize and what we take in.
Because you can
So
do
that's
stuff when no
amazing.
one's watching or that person's not there. But it's like,
what you
That's
would
what you were saying.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
every time your grandpa told you he was going to do something, he
he
came
did
through.
it. He came through.
yeah, and that came with like
That's-
a swift ass kicking too. When he told you were gonna
Oh.
get one, you got one.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, he
With the
was very
cincho or?
he very much believed in tough love.
Okay.
You know,
So he wasn't so much affectionate. He didn't show the affection, but more so.
not like hugging and I
Right.
love you, but
Mhm.
like the things he did, they came from love.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
even the hard lessons and the smacks on the back of the head and shit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Some
Smacks on the
trancazos
back of
here
the
and
head.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But he definitely taught me how to how to work hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's where you got your work ethic.
Yeah,
and-
because he quoted the judge when the judge placed me with him. He's like, I don't want your grandparents to come back here and tell me that there was leaves left on the grass, that the cars weren't washed, that there was a dish left in the sink,
Oh,
that the trash was
wow.
left in the trash can. So my grandpa put me to work. I had to clean the yard. It was a small yard, but I cleaned the yard. I raked the leaves. Every weekend I would wash all 4 of their cars. They had an orange tree in the back. He bought me an actual picking sack. Then
Wow.
put me
To
up on the
make
roof and
sure
have
you
pick
were-
oranges each summer.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where everything just changed for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a
All
bit.
your
It's
amazing qualities.
amazing, like that little bit of like consistency that you had
And
and
structure.
routine and structure. Yeah, it totally made you a different person.
Well, you were there for 3 years, and then what happened after you left? Where did you go? Back with your mom?
Yeah, I went back with my mom and my sisters and started fucking up again.
Really?
Yeah.
How old were you around after the 3
I
years?
was
15? 16?
No, it's gonna be 17 or 16 and a half, I
Oh,
think.
so that's
Yeah.
Those
You're already
are
a little-
formative years.
I had
Young
just
man.
almost caught up in high school because the first 2 years when I was with my mom, I didn't go to school at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to catch up when I was with my grandparents, and I got kicked out of traditional high school and was sent to a continuation, and then I did kind of catch up. I was like teetering between going back to 100% what I was doing with everybody and still trying to stay focused and in school. And
Wow.
I did manage to graduate valedictorian from continuation, but
Still,
without a
Oh,
turn.
that's
Yeah.
good. You should be
that's
proud of
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
determination.
That's great.
Yeah, I had to take a
Yeah.
lot of classes, and
I bet.
I even went to junior college while in high school just to make up the extra credits.
Oh wow.
So you had like a natural just drive and
Yeah,
motivated to do
when
something.
I want to, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
And then after you graduated, what did life look like after that?
I started, partying a lot and drinking. Drug use kicked up again, and then I think I got arrested, and I was on probation for drugs when that whole thing kicked off and sent me to prison.
Mm.
And how long were you in prison for?
Almost 3 years, like 2 years and some change. Between the county jail and prison, it was like a total of 2 years, and I think a little over 2 years.
You were how old? 18, 19?
No, I was 22.
22.
22.
And what did you do to fill up the time in prison?
Read and exercise.
An
Any
exercise.
book you can remember at that time that
Oh, I read
You still
like the
remember?
complete Patterson series, the Cross series, Tom Clancy, some true crime stuff, even some fantasy stuff. Just really anything I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
What were the thoughts when you were in there? Like, what have I done, or I have to change, or I can't wait to get out? Like, what were the thoughts?
Initially, it was oh shit, like what I do, I'm in this place with all these people, like you don't know anybody, so I just knew I couldn't do this. I can do this, but I can't do this again. Like this
Right.
has to be a lesson learned.
Like I'm never coming back here again.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
whatever I gotta do, I just can't do it. If I'm gonna be a criminal, I gotta be a really good one. You know what I mean? I gotta not get caught.
Get back here. Yeah,
Right?
can't-
Yeah, I just don't want to come back here. It was a total waste of time. The whole system is just. It's not designed for rehabilitation.
Mm,
It's it's a stiff punishment. You get there to sit there and waste time.
yeah.
So I just tried to make the best of it. Try not to get in too much more trouble. And just read.
would anyone come and visit you? Any family, friends?
No.
Not even one visitor.
Grandma,
Oh.
grandpa.
No, it was far. I was in the first prison I was at. After reception was up in the high desert area, like past Reno, but on the California side,
Oh,
that
yeah, that's
way.
far.
Okay.
Susanville, and then from there I got sent to Soledad in Salinas Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no visitors.
So that must have made it even more hard.
Yeah, it made it easy to kind of initially get swept up in the romance of it, if you can believe that, of the like I'm in prison and all this big macho machismo shit, like big tough guy shit.
Yeah.
But that was short lived. I saw some things in there that I just didn't make sense to me. The story that everyone is telling you to pump you up, that you're here for as a part of something bigger and better than yourself, and it's
You mean
it-
like within the cliques and
yeah,
all that?
you know,
Got
it just it a lot of things didn't make sense to me, and I just was like, it's not for me, and I totally withdrew.
Yeah.
And that's good that you caught that on, because there is some people that are like, yeah, that
They're all
motivates them
about it.
more. Like, I'm cool with being in here. But that's really good that you had that mindset and were able
Well, you
to.
see a lot of these guys, they need,
Something to pass time.
but they need to be in a group.
Mhm.
They need to be in a group, and they need to be like, they need each other to make each other feel better, and they can't do the alone
Be
thing.
alone.
Yeah. And that's
Insecurity.
yeah, I was just like, I'm cool being.
Sounds like codependency.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I spent the time. I hung out with everybody, and I did everything I was supposed to do, but, I just kept to myself.
Yeah.
Do you, once you got out, are you still in connection with anyone that you met in there? Any friends you've made?
Nobody from the time I was in, but my brother spent 16 years in there, and he's introduced me to a few people that I'm still in contact with. I still try to be an example, I guess.
Like a mentor?
Yeah,
Big brother?
yeah,
Positive influence?
yeah. We talk a lot. They give these guys tablets now, so they can call.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, they can call a lot, and there's free phone calls now. So we
Oh.
spend a lot of time on the phone talking about them getting out and and the things they can do, and how to stay on task, and keep
The right path.
keep moving forward,
That's awesome.
and actually come out and live a good life,
A
and
good
Yeah.
life.
full of things that are so much more than what they initially thought going in there. The things
Than
now
whatever.
that they thought were important, they're realizing don't matter.
Yeah.
And,
You're a perfect example of that, for
Yeah.
sure. Then after that time, after you got out,
Mhm.
what did you do with your life?
I came home and just I knew I had to change. Something had to change. I didn't know what. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go.
Hmm.
There was very little resources for the pro office is just
Yeah.
stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to school and getting a part-time job with my uncle and my father. And the school, I finished it, but the field didn't work out for me,
What was that field?
medical field.
Oh, okay.
And I actually was going to have a baby at the time, and I knew, I needed more money to survive throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked the doctor for a raise, if he'd give me $1 raise, and I would stay with him. If not, I was going to work seasonal with my uncle and my father.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that was only going to be seasonal, they were going to pay me more.
More.
And he said no. So I ended up working for my father and my uncle at their tax firm.
Oh,
which is
that's where you.
which is-
Okay,
yeah,
that was my next.
the one I
question.
own now.
Okay.
And I started just, they asked me, what can you do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I never had a job really, just, like, well, you could take out the trash and answer the phones. And
Mm.
that's why I started there. And I just kind of took an interest to the work, and it interested me. I wanted to help. I'd see people come in there and what they were doing and the problems they would have, and I just wanted to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started learning it. I started asking questions, and finally took the test and passed it my second time,
Mm-hmm.
and
The rest
just
is
kept
history.
challenging myself.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack a little bit and ask you a question. So, since you come from a somewhat dysfunctional home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that with all due respect, by the way.
Absolutely.
Did your partner come from a similar background, like when the parents were using drugs, or
Completely opposite. She's the
What?
complete opposite. Yeah.
Really?
Nah, no exposure to any of that.
How old were you when you met her?
I was 25.
Oh, okay.
So this was after you came out of prison.
Yeah.
do you think that she has been instrumental to, because we repeat patterns, right?
Mhm.
When we're younger. So if we see dysfunction, our parents not being together, not all the time, but for the most part, we do repeat patterns. Do you think she's been instrumental to teaching you a different way?
Definitely. She's been very stable for me.
How long have you guys been together, if you don't mind me asking?
17 years ish.
Wow. Can you tell us how different it is, how you grew up versus the life that you have now with her?
Well, it's now, there's no real screaming argument. She doesn't, we don't hit each other. There's none of that physical stuff. She grew up very, with no affection in the home, and we're extremely affectionate with the children, because of that. Because I, not that I didn't experience any of it, but it was few and far between, So we try to have that environment in the house for the kids.
Wow. So she has been, you said that she is very stable, so she's given you like a look of what stability looks like, almost like maybe your grandma and grandpa? Wow, that's amazing.
So just to backtrack a little, you said when you came out of prison, you started working, you went to the medical field, wasn't a good fit, and you transitioned to working with your dad and your uncle.
Yeah.
So you had meant also earlier that your dad was using growing up.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he started this new business with your uncle, and you could talk more about it. Was he currently also using at the time?
Yeah, at the time, just prior to him joining that or them merging, he worked for a large tax firm up in Northern California.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And we were shown, like my brother and I, that you could be both. You could do both. You know, my dad was very high functioning, as am I, but my brother not so much.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to maintain the business and his clients all while, and no one really knew. Like for a long time, no one knew. So he was still using.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard a lot of similar stories like that. I think like also I think it's very common with like construction workers. They're sipping beers 24/7 most of the time, not all of them, but I think
I've
that's
heard
an
that.
example of, and I think in some culture, well, Latino cultures, because we're a Latino podcast, is that we can see that reflection in different ways with some family members, acquaintances, and friends.
Yeah.
And did while he was using affect the business at all? Was any moment in time where like, damn, like because I'm using, this happened?
I don't think so.
No,
No.
he was just good at
He
it.
was like really high functioning.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Really.
Wow. And you
Really.
never noticed like a slur or anything, or a little nod, or
I
a
mean,
little
I knew.
Because you knew, so
I
you were
knew.
just like, I could tell
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew.
automatically.
I knew. Yeah. I knew very early on what my dad was and what he did.
Yeah.
Were you ever angry or resentful with your dad?
Because of it?
Yeah, with that particular portion of his life.
Yeah. When I was maybe in like junior high and stuff, I was really upset about it. But then after a few instances of almost losing him, I knew in a sense that maybe we were on borrowed time. So I had to, I appreciated, everything, all the time I had with my dad, you know. And I know that upset my mom a little bit, but, that was, and I don't think she's ever asked why or even understood why, but that's what it was, is that, at 12 years old, I knew what my dad was, so I knew that at any minute it could just
Yeah.
be over.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be with them. I wanted to hang out with them. I wanted very much to be like him, except for that part.
Got it. So where was mom at this time?
Which time?
During the time you were working with your dad?
She was there with her boyfriend.
Oh.
Like I was out of the house. And she was living with her boyfriend.
So sometimes when you work with your parents, right, even though you're an adult, and I understand that you said that, that you were really just, you were on borrowed time and you really wanted to enjoy him and spend time with him. But sometimes when we work with our parents, we kind of morph into our teenage self, right? And there's like a little bit of arguments or a little bit back and forth. Did you experience any of that?
No.
Wow.
And at that time, so right as I got out of prison, I was staying with my godmother, and that lasted maybe about 6 months, maybe almost a year. And then, like I said, I was about to have a baby, so I had to start. I couldn't have her move in with me at someone's house. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So we got an apartment together, and then the baby was born. I moved in with my sister for a brief time, and then after that, I moved in with my father. Like we got a house together, so we worked together, lived together, but there was none of that. It was very much, I think, because I was in like a learning kind of phase where I didn't really know what was going on, so I was trying to soak up as much game and as much experience and knowledge as I could. So he was a great teacher, because that's what he did at the other accounting firm. He would teach their tax course and manage their offices. So I kind of took advantage, and I was just trying to soak up as much. I didn't know anything, so I wanted to know.
Just listening.
Yeah, and I would ask questions like, how come, how that person gets so much money, or what did you do to help them? They were owing money, and then just I would take his advice.
Yeah.
And we got really, really close in that time frame.
You took an interest in him as he took an interest in you, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So did your uncle also become sort of a mentor and someone else to look up to besides your dad?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He would him and my dad would kind of go back and forth a little bit, because my uncle, I think, his son also worked at the business.
Oh, wow.
My cousin, right? So, and I think a lot of things I did, he wanted his son to do, which is like take an interest and show initiative and stay late and show up early. I wasn't trying to like brown nose or kiss anyone's ass. I was just trying to.
Yeah.
I had a lot of responsibility there. Like the minute they saw I could do something, like that was my new job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was constantly taking on new things, and my uncle would see that, and he would constantly give me more.
Yeah.
And my dad would tell him, like, slow down, like you're gonna confuse him. Like I would sit at the front desk, answer 5 phones, and make appointments, and handle money, and do intake, and see people out the door at the same time. And my uncle would kind of come and in a way fuck with me. Like he would bring me a stack of files with the one on the bottom and ask me about the one on the bottom, knowing, like, directing me that it's not here. Like, while you have a chance, can you look for this file? So it's going to be in the back somewhere. So he would send me on a wild goose chase all the time, just to kind of keep me on my toes.
Wow.
But he would also share a lot of knowledge with me.
So did your hustle when you were 12 years old, when you started, spoke about that life, do you think or feel like it transitioned into when you started off in the tax business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a different product, just a service now.
Different product. There you go.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's that life is very much business. It's very much business. You have to worry about all the same things. It's just an illicit product that you're doing, and in a much violent, type of clientele.
In a
Yeah.
different setting.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot less things you have to worry about now. But it definitely translates into the same type of you can apply the same type of hustle to it, and just push numbers, increase your volume, raise your price.
You have your clients
Yeah, for sure.
After you had your son, how did you continue to grow in the business?
I think at that time I was still very much learning, so I was staying late. I would try to stay and pick up the extra work that was like my uncle and my dad were too busy to do. I would kind of grab those files and take the initiative and just try to constantly push the envelope. Like I would do the long form, or I would do self-employed stuff or rental property stuff. I started learning about depreciation, and just constantly over the next probably like 5 years just took on more and more stuff that I really didn't know what I was doing, or I had not dealt with in the past.
Yeah, so there was like a hunger to learn.
For sure, absolutely.
A hunger to like
Absolutely.
be successful.
Definitely.
And
'Cause
to
now
be
you have
at
a
their
family,
level.
a child.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, I
lot.
definitely saw the potential. Like I got in there and I was one of the younger people there, and they were doing things, old school, a lot of handwritten stuff, and that's how they wanted it done. But I'm like, there's an easier way to do this. Like let me do it this way, and I'll take care of it, and it'll be the same result, and
Just faster.
Yeah, just faster. I don't have to spend 2.5 hours doing it. I can do it in like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and I saw the potential. Really, I saw the potential for the growth. And back then my uncle and my dad would get excited if we did 25 people a day. They were over the moon happy. I mean, they would go out and have drinks. They were excited.
25 people, that's a lot of people to see in one
Yeah,
day.
it's a lot for 2 people.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
How many people do
Yeah.
you see?
I see 34 people a day on Sundays.
But not on your
Sunday.
own, right? You have help.
No, it's just me. On Sundays, it's just me. I start at 7 and I'm done at about 10:30. And
Wow.
usually that office is a remote office. It's in Palmdale, so I will bring someone with me, like a child, one of my kids, and I'll have them answer the door, or just kind of bring the clients in and have them start filling out information while I'm working on someone, and then we just kind of goes like that.
Okay. So at what point did your uncle and your dad just kind of hands off and you just venture on your own?
No, my dad passed away first. He got sick.
Sorry.
He
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
thank
hear
you. Yeah, he passed away, I think, in 2011. And so after that, my uncle, didn't want to do it. He was getting sick
Really?
himself. My dad died from liver failure, and my uncle had real severe diabetes. But he didn't want to do it. He told me, he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to come to work and walk by your dad's desk and see it empty. And I told him, well, I'll do it. Don't worry. Like that was my thing. Like I'll take care of it. I'll do his job. I'll see his
Just stay.
clients. Yeah, just like I didn't want to lose what they had built. And he was like, okay, let's try it. And he had lost the love for it, I think, at that point. Because even then, he would tell me, as much as I love you, I hate seeing you sitting at my brother's desk.
Oh my
You know,
That was
so
hard for him.
Wow, that they were
Yeah.
just very. Oh.
yeah. So after that, he offered me his share of the business. He told me if I wanted it, I could pay him X amount of money, and
Buy him out, sort of.
yeah, and he would work for me, which was, in
Sure.
hindsight, it was a bad idea to have him work for me because he was
Right.
fucking difficult. Oh my god, he was like that employee that just constantly pushed the envelope. Like, you said I can't do this, so I'm gonna do exactly almost what you said not to do.
How the roles reversed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he constantly pushed my buttons. But he was, I think, doing it to make me stronger. Also to annoy me, but, he definitely wanted me to be prepared for anything I think that was going to come my way
Wow.
when he wasn't around.
Yeah.
How
That's
have
awesome.
you, from where they left off the business, how have you gotten it to like multiple locations and a lot more clients than they used to have? How have you gotten it there?
Um, hard work.
Yeah, a
Just
lot of work.
A lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah, just hard work and willing to put in the hours.
Hmm.
Because I could easily just say, no, I'm going to work.
And it sounds like you genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's not
absolutely.
just work. It's you genuinely enjoy what you do.
Absolutely.
And you get to
So-
teach your children as well.
Yeah. I have my
Take them to work with
my
you.
20-year-old, they're starting with me this year. And the 16-year-old, once he heard that, he was like, oh no, like I'm gonna go help my dad on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
wow.
now he's like, no, he used to know how to input like the data, some of the information, but this was when he was like 10 years old. Now he's like, you need to show me again. Like he brought his laptop on Sunday and was like, you need to show me what I'm like, where to put this stuff so I can help you.
So interesting, because a lot of times you hear that someone will start a business, and most of the time their kids don't want to take on the business. They do the complete opposite or something way out of what they've seen growing up. So the fact that your kids are willing to jump into the business speaks volumes about your relationship with them and how they want to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, I think part of it's in our blood. My grandmother did taxes.
Really?
My grandmother,
You guys are just good with numbers then.
4 of her kids, I think, and then like 6 of their kids
Oh,
do
wow.
taxes.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of us.
That's
Do you feel like the intention that you set behind your business, what is your intention behind your business?
To help people, really. Because, the general public really has no idea about taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't know a W-2 from a W-4 from a 1099. Like, they don't know anything. And it's kind of set up that way so that no one asks questions. We just kind of pay what we think what we're supposed to pay. Like, no one really has an idea, I don't think. Like,
no one questions it.
yeah, no one
really.
questions it.
Yeah.
So, I like to help people. I try to leave my clients, like, my big thing is, like, I want them to leave my office at least satisfied with whatever questions they had. I'd hate to leave them, like, in wonder, like, what just happened in there?
Yeah, confused.
Where's
How
my
did I end
money?
up owing so much money? Or,
Yeah.
or like,
Where's my money going?
yeah.
now? Yeah.
So that's my big motivation is to try to help my clients in whatever, whether it's getting money or paying little money back or understanding more,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
So how you were talking about or speaking about right now of wanting to help people become more educational when it comes to taxes, what advice would you give to communities or people who aren't financially literate?
Come ask for help. Like, the information's there. Us as accountants or tax preparers or bookkeepers, we have it.
Mhm.
Just come and ask us. Make an appointment. Come sit down with us.
Yeah.
Our job is to kind of decipher what the rules and codes are and how they're designed to help you and help you understand them and apply them.
Yeah.
There's so many tools and so many ways you guys or all of us can use it to our benefit.
So me as a business owner, let's just pretend that I'm in your office right now.
Mhm.
What advice would you give Fabiola Lopez from South Pasadena Hypnosis? What
This guy.
advice would you give her?
Well, Well, it depends on your situation, but I would definitely tell you to we go over and review how you're structured, how your business is structured, to make sure you're getting the right amount of benefit from it, and then try to find some ways that maybe some things that you're not doing, and explore those options where you see if they're a fit.
Like, should I be saving all my receipts for the business? Should I be, keeping a log of everybody that pays me?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Definitely keep
what
a
should
ledger.
I be doing?
You can get QuickBooks, or you can hire an accountant or a bookkeeper to handle that for you.
Which I do, shout out.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely, you definitely want to keep track of all that stuff. And a big thing I see in people that start their own thing is a lot of commingling. So you definitely have to separate the Fabiola home from Fabiola at work.
I do.
Yeah, good. That's good, because a lot of people, especially our Latin people, don't. They're like, no, it's all my money. Like, what do you mean I can't? What do you mean I can't use it for this? Like,
Yeah.
What advice would you give the people that fall under like low income? Is there any changes that are happening in 2024? Any maybe add-ons they can add for children? Anything like great changes?
there's more money coming their way for child tax credit.
Lucky y'all.
Just to pay attention.
Or just people in general.
Yeah, just to pay attention to that. Make sure they're
What-
getting it.
How much money are you supposed to make a year to qualify
Low income?
for what is considered low
Yeah,
income?
what is considered low
Yeah,
income?
What is considered?
35-ish and underneath.
35 and under is
Yeah.
low income.
You definitely qualify for the higher end of the credits. It depends on how many children you have though too. So like, for one, you want to be in the teens or low 20s, and two, mid 20s, and three, and 30.
So then 35 and above is median.
Like 40.
Like 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I know. I'm like,
Wow.
And that's when I start to notice the shift, and where people are like, well, wait a minute, I'm not getting as much. It's because you're getting out of that low range
Yeah.
into, you know,
mm-hmm.
that part that sucks, where you gotta pay now.
Yeah.
You gotta have to pay your taxes in your
Yeah.
paycheck, and
Mm-hmm.
the refunds aren't gonna be what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I love that you said that you're like willing to educate your customers, your clients, that you're willing to take the time, because it seems like this is your purpose, like to help, like
Yeah.
you thrive, you're completely in your element.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely like to help, in whichever way I can.
Amazing. What would you say to little Richard? Little Richard that had no idea that his life was going to turn out this great. The little Richard that felt alone and scared and abandoned in some way, even. The little Richard that was parentified at a young age and had such big responsibility, bigger than himself. What would you say to him?
I would encourage him to be relentless, and to go with his gut instinct, because he kind of knew it was what was right, and he just let everything else kind of fog that, cloud his judgment. But just to be relentless, you know.
Would you say that now, when it comes to business and where you're headed and how far you've grown, do you feel like you apply that relentlessness into your business?
Definitely in my business. Trying to do it in my personal life, but yeah, definitely in the business.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you, Richard.
being here and, sharing your success story with us.
Yeah, and sharing your childhood and very vulnerable moments. We appreciate it so much. Our
Yes.
first guest.
Yeah, thank you guys for
We're
having me.
so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
It was
Yes,
very
thank
interesting.
You,
Mm-hmm.
Richard. Yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our episode. We're so glad to have you guys watching.
Yes, thank you all, and thank you, Richard, for
Thank you
making it
so
out and
much,
being
Richard.
our first guest. We appreciate it so much
Yeah.
for sharing your story.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, guys, for the next episode.